Lastly, I want to show you how to just pull the whole scene together using the Compositor, which is basically like a built-in Photoshop that you can just add some final touches to your scene. So if we were to, first of all, just go to Render and press Render Image, because this is Eevee, this will take less than a minute, which is really nice. You'll see over here in the bottom, this is the progress of your render. It'll take a second as it loads in the mesh, but as soon as it renders, you'll see it basically jump from 0 to 100 almost instantly. So there we go. This is what our scene looks like without any type of post modification. I'm also going to just select this peptide. I kind of liked how before Blender crashed, I liked how this was kind of running off the screen. Okay, so now you can go up here to these different viewport tabs, and you can click on Compositing. Inside Compositing, you'll see that it's completely blank until you press this Use Nodes button, and that'll open up this right here. So nodes are one of the most powerful parts of Blender. They're a little bit confusing at first, but it's the same idea as functional programming. You take an idea or a data set, you put it into a function, that function is set and it will never change, and then the only thing you're manipulating is the output, and you pass that into another function. So that's what's happening here. Each one of these represents a different function. So here are our data, is our render, and then this is the final output. So let's add a glare function. So how I did that, you pressed Shift A, that stands for add. So Shift A, and then you'll see search will appear here. You can click on the search and then just type in whatever you want, and you'll see that it'll direct you to glare. So I'm going to drop the glare node in between these two nodes, and you'll see that it'll automatically add it. There's some different options you can play around here for different glare effects. The one that I always use is fog glow. You can imagine like a car in fog, kind of what it does to the headlights. It makes the light kind of expand. The other effect that I really like, so Shift A, search. I'm going to add some lens distortion. I think this is particularly useful for molecular scenes because it gives the effect that you're looking at something really small through a camera and the lens is having trouble with just the limitations of light itself. So under dispersion, this is the only option that you really need to change. I'm going to change this to a value of 0.175. For most scenes, you might want to choose something a little bit smaller, maybe like 0.1, but I really want to push this effect like we're underwater looking at something really small. So if we go back to our layout tab, you'll see that it's the same here, and that's because it works exactly like Photoshop. It'll post-process our image. So render image. So this is the normal image, and then that's the post-processing on top of it. So you could tweak all of these values. If you wanted it to look like there's less distortion, you could just decrease that number. If you don't want such a dramatic glow behind your protein, remember you can just go over here to the power button under your light, and you can decrease this. What I would probably do now that I see my render, I would go to my light in the background, which I clicked on here on the outliner, or you could click here, and I'd probably just decrease this to 750, just to decrease the light a little bit. But there you go. That is the full render, and I'm impressed that we were able to make it through even with Blender crashing. So without having to explain each part, you could probably do this render in less than 15 minutes. So you can get a very interesting, exciting scene with minimal amount of effort once you know where everything is. And in the next lesson, we'll actually start from this same scene. So if, originally the class was slotted to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but instead I just went for Monday, Wednesday, and then Friday you could use to go through the lecture videos on your own, try to get something that you like, and then you can either use that for the next class, or under the lesson files, I already have this final image that I rendered out, and so you could just start from that if you don't have time to look at this before next Monday. But that's all. If anyone is auditing the class or didn't sign up and they want access to Canvas, just come up afterwards and I can add you. Or if you have just any questions in general, I'll stay as long as possible. I know we go through it pretty fast, and I'm sure people had questions, but I'm always worried about whether or not we'll make it through the render in time, and so we want to get the complete render so you have it available to watch later on. I imagine you might want to do a cover in like a month or two, and by then you'll completely forgotten everything I've just done. And so this way you can always just go back and watch it later whenever you feel like it's useful. But yeah, that's all. I look forward to seeing you guys next week.